Hello everybody. It took me over a week to be able to continue the video so you can have a taste of what your life will be when you give birth, because every time we have a break there is so many things to do, and this was on the list of my priorities, but still a priority. So I was at the time when I went to the shower, which was really important for me during the birth. But I was already like contracting myself, contorting myself. I wasn't making sounds anymore because every time I allowed the sound out, it would intensify the contraction, because the throat is very connected. It's the same tube as the yoni, so when you expand here, you expand down there and the baby comes down. So it's a good intensification, but I wasn't able to do it. And then my doctor came and put me in a little bench of wood to examine me. It was the only time that I was examined during the birth, which was one of the things that I asked for, not to have a lot of examinations if it was not needed. And then right before that I had a contraction, and for the first time I felt a desire to pull, and then the water broke on her, like the water broke on my doctor. And then I was thinking, now it's not much time. Now I was feeling very much in a celebration that everything was unfolding. Then at this point I went to the bathtub and I put my face under the water so that I could scream, not during the contraction, because it was kind of, I could scream, but it was not so intense as outside. And I was there for like a couple of hours, maybe 2 hours. My partner was behind me, always doing some massage and giving me some kisses, reassuring me. It was very good when he would breathe with me and make sounds that invited me to come back to allowing the sound to come. Just doing like like allowing his stress to come out of his body. And then it was reassuring for me that I could also do that, because words at that time don't really make any sense. The brain just stops. And so here I share a bit something more intimate, that is that I was a lot during the birth. I was still I have this, I think all women have this tendency to project on our partners the reason why we're not feeling ecstatic, because they have the capacity to take us there, but also to withhold that possibility from us. But it's actually just a mirror of where we allow ourselves to go to and where we are putting ourselves into. So there was a slight projection happening in my head on him, because even though he was massaging my back for like 10 hours straight, there was still a lot of pain. So there was an anger building up inside of me. And then when my doctor examined me, she told me, look, it's the same like 2 hours ago. The baby needs to come out, you need to push now. And this was really a shock for me, because I was really studying a lot of like, just surrender, just breathe. Like nobody that I was studying was in this like forced pushing vibe, but no one told me that, okay, at a certain point you will have to push, like I was not prepared, which in a way was good, but it was also a bit, oh my god, what I need to push. The baby is not just going to like pop out like this. And I got really scared, and in this moment I saw that there was a part of me saying like, it's not worth this pain, I don't want so much to be a mother. There was this voice on the back of my head that would say something like this, and I was like ignoring it because it was not my full self, I was not believing in it, but I was watching that this was happening. And this very subtle awareness was very important, because and when I realized that I needed to push use the anger that I had to push these thoughts out, that would open my body, that would open my mind, that would open my body, you know, like this very subtle engine of mind and body connection. And this was exactly what happened. Like my partner screamed together. Like my doctor said, allow the crazy scream to come out, like stop holding back, allow that intense scream of everything that you're actually experiencing to come out. And that was a lot. Like there was, I mean, shame, not shame that stopped me, but I was uncomfortable to see myself in that level of vulnerability, you know, to really face it. Okay, this is really what I'm feeling, and then just allow it. But that was really when our voices came together, the baby started to really come down. And I pushed like my partner's feet. I used the anger like a strength to do it. And I chose to give birth, and I chose to be a mother. And I understood that I needed to meet the pain that I was feeling, because behind that pain was my daughter. You know, this is the thing. Usually when we have pain, we want to avoid it because there is something harmful there. There is like a scar, or there is something that is really hurting. But actually in this case, behind the pain is my daughter. So after I did this alchemy with the anger and with these thoughts that were resisting the pain, I started to really like cross through the pain, and I saw that after the pain there was another quality of experience, that was to feel my daughter really coming down. And I wrote down that this choice, this working with my thoughts at this point, feeling very exhausted, and like it's really a level of thinking that is the power of life or death. Like this is the power of a mother. Now you can choose to give birth, or you can choose to kill it. And at the point it really felt like that. Like when my doctor said you need to give birth, like your daughter needs to come out, it wasn't that anything was dangerous, but it's true. Like at one point she needs to come out. You cannot be preparing for it forever, you know. At one point it's like go or don't. And facing this was the most intense part of my experience, definitely more intense than the physical pain. It was dealing with this mental, emotional pain. And yeah, and in this scream that I allowed, I really felt like all the mothers of the world screaming with me. There was this power that came back, you know, that I wrote down nothing could ever prepare me for this moment. And at the same time, it was a lifetime preparing myself to have this level of communication with myself. And to be able to do this choice and to face this fear. And then I focused on the pain. And then I spoke with my doctor. I said, I think I need to poo now. And then she said, yeah, you're going to poo with an ear and a little mouth and a little eyes. Like your poo is going to have a little mouth and hair and everything. Like it's the baby, she said. Like this is the feeling you're reaching for. Poo, allow yourself to poo, you know. And then she even had like a thing to collect my poo if there was any poo, but I had already went to the toilet like many times during birth. And then I screamed like so strong. I was already sitting like in kokora, you know, like with the feet like this and the bum like this, you know, the knees here. And then I felt like the head coming down, the shoulders, and I heard it's coming from my doctor's. And then she was in my arms, like it was one push and it was like blah, 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 you know, like she blah, blah. And and I saw her, and she was blue, and she was purple, she was lilac, which is, her name is Lila, and she was in my arms. She was very white, like I was very impressed now with the experience of holding her. Like suddenly there was peace. It was not emotional for me, like I was not crying like I thought I would. I had already had that cry many times. Guy, my partner, was sobbing, but for me there was this absolute silence, absolute stillness. It was like beyond time. It was like just this moment of awe, you know. It was like time stood still, and it was just me and her. It was just her, actually. Like I was totally there. There was no me to deal with that. It was just her being, you know. Absolute peace, né? Like this absolute emptiness that was so full. And that's it. Like that was it. Then I was still in the bathtub for a couple of hours with my partner, and her doctor arrived and was helping to like wash her a little bit. There was a lot of blood. The placenta came out in about 1 hour. It was a little bit challenging, like to push it, but after everything, it was like nothing. It was really a very good relief when the placenta finally came out. And the placenta is so magical. I was there like tripping on it, and Lila was crying a lot, and I already felt like putting her on my breast. She already latched like immediately after birth. I was very precious. Very precious. Such a relief to trust in the intelligence of life, no? And I think what I want to say still to you girls, women, mothers to be, or whoever is watching this, that I took some notes like after I recorded this to reinforce some of the things that I thought were more important to share. And it really has to do with the choice I did not to have any interference, you know, because there is a very strong difference between the pain that is produced by humans interfering on the flow of creation and the pain that comes from creation itself, because for creation to give birth, something needs to die, like something needs to open, and that causes a certain quality of pain. But when you choose that path to trust that pain, to trust that flow, to trust that intelligence, there is a very deep peace, because you can intuitively, you can feel that there is a perfection in everything, you know. And on the other hand, when you start interfering with nature, you start distorting the natural flow. So the pain that you experience, it's actually a pain because something is off. And this is what I didn't want to experience, because I knew this was going to trigger fears in me. And not only that, but that would also trigger an escalate of interferences, which is the way allopathics work. It's like you have a pain in your liver, you take a medicine, it causes headache, then you have to have a medicine for headache, then it causes something in your stomach, then you have to have something, then it causes gas, then you have something for gas, then it causes sleepiness, then you have to have coffee, then you have to, you know, it's like you have to be regulating all these things, and it's endless, you know, and you end up depleting your nervous system and your energy, now your life force, with all these interferences. And in birth is the same thing. If I had done this procedure to accelerate birth, I probably will have some contractions. Then what usually happens that at one point they slow down, then they need to induce with medicine artificially, then the woman has some very painful contractions because the body is not opened yet. It's just the contraction of the womb, but the whole body is not working in unison. And then it eventually leads to the whole lot of C-sections that we see, which is also totally fine if it's needed. But I would be so sorry if I would have lost the opportunity to give natural birth, like to really be initiated in this power. And I think it really would have made maternity so much harder, because every time I'm tired of waking up in the middle of the night to breastfeed her, it is that power that awakened there, like that wild, crazy mother in me, archetypical mother that passed through this portal, that transcended her own little self to become a great mother, you know, to become someone that can transcend herself, you know, that can transcend the most intense pain. Then everything, it's easy now, you know. And if you don't have this register on your body, then everything is a burden. And not only that, you have all the scars, you know, of being cut, not only in your physical body but also in your energy body. And this is the most important center, because once you recover from birth, you know, once the womb is back in place, and now I'm at this point that my womb is back in its place and its size, and I'm breastfeeding, and I'm feeling so much orgasmic energy, like I'm feeling so much more sensitive now with my breast connected with my womb, you know, that it's such a beautiful technologies that our bodies were created to develop and activate, you know, through this portal that we cross. So for me, really, I really honor the pain, you know. I didn't want it to have a painless birth, not even with like natural medication. Like, I'm a very big fan of marijuana. I didn't use that during pregnancy or during birth, because I wanted to have the raw experience, you know, to feel what all mothers have experienced since the beginning of time, and what has turned them into this powerful women that actually changed something in the world with the way that they raise their children, because they had this deep love awakened in a cellular level, you know. And this love is awakened through the power of transcending the ego and our little pains for another that we choose to love, you know. It's really such a magnificent process. So this is what I wanted to share. It's not to place like guilt or anything. It's just really to invite us to come back to the way nature designed us to be, because we are in a path of comfort that takes us out of the experience of life. Life is meant to be intense. It's not meant to be comfortable, because discomfort is actually numbness. And in life we grow through feeling, and the more intense the pain, the more intense the bliss. And this is what I'm really able to tap into now, that when I'm breastfeeding my daughter, laying down, my body's fully relaxed, everything is working perfectly, and it's really a blessing. It's really such a joy. Okay, thank you for listening, and I hope you take something of beneficial for you out of it. Much love. Ciao.